Hi, good afternoon. Tamara here, your intentional coach. And so I want to continue talking about being intentional. Now, I was not the most intentional person. I was intentional in one area of my life. I love to study. So I was very intentional about that, timetabling and getting myself ready and doing exercising and walking and stuff like that to study because that was important to me. But there were other areas of my life where I prayed and expected an answer. So I didn't really expect to do anything to get it. But once I prayed, I am hoping that God is going to answer. And I really wasn't doing any intentional work about those areas of my life. And then I started to learn that there is a work that is required as well as our faith and our praying to get some of the results or responses or changes we want. And very simply, I started to read the word, and the very first thing that struck me is how intentional God is and how intentional Christ was. Really and truly, if we think about it, God's intentionality was seen from page 1 in Genesis, the creation of the world. Let's think about it. There was a specific order in which the world was created. First, he brought light into the darkness. Then he divided the light from the darkness. He gave us day and night. Come on, people. That is intentionality. That is having a plan. That is having a system. And that is having a goal that you want to accomplish. Then the next thing you notice is that he created man. Then he created woman. And then man and woman, they looked at the animals. There's an order about the way things occur. And even now, if we look around the natural earth, we see intentionality, which is deliberate and purposeful movement in the things that are around us. So then, how, as a believer in God, sometimes we feel it's okay in some areas of our life to do absolutely nothing and to expect that change is going to take place. Hmm, not too sure about that. But what I recognize is that we are equally emotional as we are spiritual beings. And the emotional part of us is represented in us in the word with us, the word soul. And so in order for our souls to be healthy, to be thriving, the soul needs some care too. The soul needs some deliberate attention. And I often think about the fact that we get wounded in our souls, hurt in our souls. And so we just pray and we wait for the soul to be healed. But sometimes we're waiting and we feel it's healed, we're not sure, and we recognize, wait, it ain't healed like that at all, boy. It still hurts. It is still blindingly painful or causes blinding anger. That thing ain't healed. So we may not have been as deliberate as we should about caring for the wounds that were created in our souls. Now, the thing about that though is that in the natural, when we get a wound, especially if you get a serious wound that bleeding real bad, what do? Do you look at the wound and you touch it, you pray, and you just leave it there if it continues paining and bleeding? No. You're going to give it some care and attention. So, what you may do is that for that particular wound, you may press your fingers on it in order to stop the bleeding, or you may get a piece of cloth and put it on that spot, hoping that the bleeding will stop. As the bleeding reduces, you're going to look for some help. You're going to search for some help. You're going to go to the healthcare facility, and when you get there, they're going to clean out the wound. Then they are going to probably apply some medication, and then they are going to stitch it up, and you are then given a medication to prevent infection, and you are sent home with some instructions on how to treat this wound so that you will not, so that it will heal. All right, so if the wound is on your hand, you're usually told not to let any water get into it, ensure that it doesn't, things don't hit it and it's bounced up so that it will continue to pain and not be healed. So there are things that you are told to do so that the wound can heal. And you do it because you want the wound to heal, and moreover, you want it to heal without a scar. Right? So in the natural, in the physical, when we get a wound, we tend it. Why then do we believe that in the spiritual, if we get a wound, we just leave it there and expect it to heal itself, to be healed? That really happens. I don't say it doesn't. It really happens. There is some attention that needs to be paid to that wound in order for the full on healing, complete healing to take place. Will that be easy? No. Will it hurt? Yes, it may. Just the same way that when they are taking out debris from your natural wound, stones or mud, etc., it will hurt. Yeah, going in to look at the spiritual wound may hurt as well. Peeling back the layers to see what might be in there, cleaning out the things inside of there and laying them before the Lord. Yeah, it's going to hurt. The results, though, is fabulous. It means that once the wound is healed, it cannot come up to come up as an issue in your life again. It means that you experience a freedom and a happiness and a joy, because this is one more thing that you don't have to think about, that could crop up suddenly in your life. And so, as everything else has its place and we have to find balance in everything, we have to start as Christians looking at some of the spiritual wounds that we are carrying around and working with the Holy Spirit towards healing, because they affect our daily lives. They affect choices we make, they affect our relationships, they affect the way we take care of our bodies, ourselves. They affect our abilities to excel in different spheres of life and work. And they continue to raise, they continue to raise their heads once we do not go in and do the healing. And so soul care is about looking at the healing needed to maintain, you know, the healing needed to maintain that freedom and that happiness in life. And one of the avenues that can come through is through soul care. So yes, there are other ways. This is one of many. And so we are partnering, you and I, to look at soul care. The tips, the things we look at, the discussions, they're going to be simple things. But it's usually the simple thing that helps with the healing. Because if you think about it, when you got a cut, one of the first things that they do is that they wash it off with water. Soap and water is what they would use to clean the wound. And so, simple things that we use to get that deep healing that we need with the guidance and the love of the Holy Spirit. And so, join me as we look at soul care. Thanks, Mom.